Any other joys or concerns? All right, let's go before the Lord in prayer. God, I thank you that we have this incredible opportunity to come together as a group dedicated in one purpose and one mission, to serve others and to give back to our community. I thank you that we have the freedom to be able to meet and to enjoy these things because of the great country that we live in. As we think about the 4th of July, we give you praise and give you glory for the amazing things that have happened in our country. We pray for our country, continue to be with our leaders, guide and direct them, help us to continue to move forward together, unified, as a united group. God, we pray right now for the families of those who are suffering right now and are in pain due to loss. God, be with those families. Give them peace, give them love that only you can give. Continue to guide and direct us as we go throughout our daily lives. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Well, we're all standing. I invite you to join me in the national anthem. Pledge of Allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I go fix that? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran well, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, before we have Patsy on, I think I'm gonna be my own wingman on this. Let's have all the guests stand, visiting Rotarians, and introduce your guests and visiting Rotarians. We'll take it from the left side of the room to the right.
Thank you. I've got two sort of visitors. They and Oliver, I'll roast. I'll introduce them later, so you can sit. I've got Michelle Brown, who came to our meeting about 3 weeks ago when we did that parade meeting, and she is with Advanced ER, and she was one of our parade underwriters, or her company was. So she came to our meeting and she said, wow, this is really a nice group or fun group. I'd like to join this. So we're gonna. She's our new member. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry. Hi there. My name's Tyler Holcomb. I'm a visiting Rotarian from the Allen Rotary Club. I'm looking for a new club. Mr. Neese was supposed to be. Is he? There you are. Hey, Mark. No, you're fine. So I'm here with Mark.
Thanks for visiting.
Hello, I have a visitor here, a really good friend of mine. He's in from Atlanta. This is Everett Wilson. Everett Wilson.
All right. If not, then please, we'd love to have visitors, and this is a great club, the biggest club in the district. It's a fine club. So we'd like to see you, and we'd love you to join. So Patsy's going to highlight our marketplace advertiser.
Okay, our marketplace advertiser today up on the screen, Daniel Drabinski. He is he's of Blue Crest Financial Alliances. It is a Mass Mutual company. He is the agency managing director of business and estate planning for Blue Crest. He heads up a team that does comprehensive fee-based planning for business owners and executives. His team focuses on protection planning, accumulation, and the development of strategies to maximize retirement distributions in the most tax-efficient manner, as well as long-term care planning. The team also has expertise in legacy planning, charitable giving, and tax strategies. Dan and his team work with professionals in nearly all industries and age groups, but specifically focuses on clients who are working toward financial independence. We all want that. And he simply needs some help organizing and identifying any gaps or inefficiencies. In summary, his team helps professionals to identify potential blind spots and develop solutions to build upon a solid foundation of protection, savings, and growth. Please feel free to reach out to Dan to set up a confidential meeting and see if his team is a good fit to help you and your employees closer to achieving their goals. Let's all thank Dan for being this week's Hub advertiser. Thank you.
This club is so deep in talent. Our new Sergeant at Arms, Scott McLaughlin, was a charter member of the Rotary Club of Big Spring, was the president of the Rotary Club of Lubbock, and now he's our Sergeant at Arms. So Scott's going to tell you about Happy Bucks. Scott.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, this will likely be the longest speech you hear from the Sergeant at Arms this year, and it will be short, I promise you. There is an annual or a monthly program for the local Rotary Foundation, and this is 50 years ago. This club took it upon themselves to put together, aside from the regular Rotary Foundation, a local organization that has philanthropic programs here locally. So I want you to keep in mind, you'll hear this from Greg, I'm sure, but this is a separate program from Rotary International. With Rotary International, we have the every Rotarian every year. And that is a request to pay $100 a year to sign up and pay that $100 a year. This is different, and what this program is for your birthday, or on your birthday, we ask that you contribute $100 to the local Rotary Club Park Cities Foundation. And so that's the request today. If your name is up there, if your picture is up there, and you have a birthday in July, first of all, congratulations and happy birthday. And secondly, we just ask that you make your contribution to that club, to the club, and to the foundation. The Happy Bucks program, I'm going to hold off. Happy will be here next week, and I don't want to steal her thunder. We'll have it's a new program that she's going to introduce, and basically it is, if you have something to announce, something that you want to celebrate, be thinking about that. This money will be used to buy meals for public service employees at either University Park or Highland Park. It's a great program that Happy has come up with, and just ask that you contribute. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be the first contributor. I'm going to contribute just because I'm happy and life is good, and I'm going to make a $10 contribution. So I'm the first, but I welcome the rest of you to be thinking about that. And next week when she announces that, be ready to contribute to we'll pass a hat or the cup or whatever it is, but $1, $5, $10, please think about that. Lastly, I would say that I won't be here every week, but I will be here. You'll see me in the back. I'll be at the bar. And if any of you if you get too long-winded, I'm going to give you the signal that you need to, we have a speaker, and we're going to allow them all the time that they need. And so I am looking for people who would assist during that time. If I'm not here, please see me after the meeting, and I'll be glad to talk to you about that. That's it. That's my speech.
And now, some new member fun. This is always one of the fun parts of these meetings. Orville, if you would come up and bring Christopher with you.
It is my very good pleasure to officially introduce you to the club, one of the newest members of the club, in the person of Christopher Gibson. Captain Christopher Gibson comes to us after many years of service in various parts of Oklahoma, starting in Oklahoma City, then to Tulsa, and then he had the privilege of coming to Fort Worth, and 1 year ago he was assigned as the administrator of the Dallas Adult Rehabilitation Center, following one of our former members, Major Paul McFarland, who went kicking and screaming to Washington, D.C., to the program there. But I'm pleased to introduce to you Chris, and say to you that he's no stranger in any manner to the motto of Rotary, service above self. He has served for 20 years in many capacities, and I commend him for the excellent program that he's done with the men on the adult rehabilitation program here in Dallas during the last year. Welcome as a new member.
Thank you, Orville. And Captain Gibson, this is your red badge. Earn your blue one as quickly as you can. These are instructions for doing that. Do as I say, not as I do. It took me forever. People can do this in just a few weeks if they want to. So welcome to the Rotary Club of Park Cities. You bet. You bet.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Yeah. Double fun today. Stan, bring Van on up.
Thank you. Van, I introduced to you several weeks ago. He was the same way. Don't be bashful. Come on. Okay. Oh, you're right. Stand down there. You're right. Perfect. Maybe one more. Good thinking there. He's going to be a great member, isn't he? Really thinks ahead. Van, again, wanted to. He came to a meeting and said, I'd really like to be a part of this group. So he is a new member, and I even got him to volunteer for the parade. And so he was looking for a job, and he became one of the walking marshals. But he just told me he gained 2 or 3 pounds being a marshal. I said, how could that be? You walked like 1.5 miles, 2 miles. He said, I've never seen so much candy in my whole life. So he was eating candy for the whole 2 miles. So anyway, I'd like to introduce Van. Van Oliver.
Van, here's your red badge, and you know the drill, so we hope you're in blue pretty soon.
Thank you.
If you remember, I told you Van played basketball for Vanderbilt. So what a surprise, yeah. So if you need a ringer and a pickup game, here's your guy.
All right, Philip, this is such a fun day. Right after the parade, when the parade has really gone well and you've seen thousands of happy faces, we can really celebrate. Philip's going to bring us up to date on the parade.
Yeah, and if it hadn't been a success, I wouldn't be up here. I'd miss this particular Friday. This is actually just a real quick thank you recognition for the membership who made this really a successful parade. And I think in a couple of weeks we're going to try to have a more formal recap. Mark is going to try to recreate a short video. We're going to thank some community contributors. But I was thinking, well, first off, I want to thank particularly Paul Pyroga, who's up here a few weeks ago, and it predicted, kind of amazingly, he guaranteed that the weather's going to be 10 degrees cooler than we expect. You know, he didn't tell us the other part of the forecast. It was going to be pouring rain with that 10-degree differential. But sure enough, the clouds parted and it worked out great. So I was thinking about why the parade is such a success for our club and I think for the Park Cities itself. And it's really about ownership. You know, we had so many different facets. Really, I think more than half of all members were working that day at various facets. And but there's so much independent responsibility that the groups took. Obviously, the big four were, of course, Paul, that was over the event, Sarah Orlier, that was over all pre-event activities, Jill Jordan over all communications, and Stan fundraised and did all facilities. But then under those, we had various groups that were in charge of various things that really just kind of took personal responsibility and ran with it. You know, I'm looking at Holly, and you know, she really took the Facebook and pushed that communications on whatever Facebook is exactly. She was working on that. But, you know, Kathleen got the surprise that we had, in fact, if you want a commemorative fan that was provided by Hawkins Wellwood, we have about 2,000 left over. And there's a supply by the door, as a matter of fact. But we were surprised they actually ordered twice as many as they ever had before. And so they literally were just throwing them out to anybody and everybody. The kids were going for the candy, and they were getting hit in the face with these fans. But besides that, you know, I don't think there's any blood drawn. But so she took it upon herself, really just kind of orchestrate all that. Mark Neese and Ian were doing the production. Lee Wagner and Jeff Brady, I've never seen anybody vamp so well as when the parade stopped, I think for 15 or 20 minutes. They could see it down the street, but for whatever reason there was a hold up, and we really don't know why. We're going to have to figure that out. But they did a great job of just doing a soft shoe and just kept the conversation going until the parade finally showed up. But anyway, things like that were just typical of what was going on that day. Again, thanks to everybody that was able to be a part of it, you know, whether it be walking marshals or manning barricades, et cetera, et cetera. Again, a couple of weeks we'll have a more formal, but again, this is just a thank you and a recognition. No, thanks, sir. No.
We have a fun gathering we can be part of at the end of this month on the 31st in the evening. The Rangers versus the Mariners. I haven't even been there. It's Globe Life Park, right? Is that what they call it? Yeah. It'll be my first time in Globe Life Park, so this is going to be fun. You can register for that online. So, Holly Hollenbeck is going to introduce our speaker, and we're going to find out a whole lot about tax law changes. I've seen the slides. It's amazing.
Hi, I'm substituting for Happy today. This is her wonderful friend and accountant. And let me pull it up here so I can find my notes, which just got cleared out because I have a crisis call coming in from work right now that I just got distracted by, so my apologies. By the way, while I'm looking for her bio, we are going down still frequently down to Bonton every Friday afternoon. And in fact, today we could use some help. So if you're available, please come down. I could use your help today. It's from 3 to, we're usually done by 4:30. So if you can come down to Bonton, just show up and it'd be awesome. Any other Friday you'd like to come with me, just text me and I'll let you know whether we need volunteers that Friday, okay? So I'm pleased to welcome Anat Borodyansky. Did I say that right? All right, I practiced. Anat joined HM&H in 2008 as a tax staff member upon graduating cum laude from University of Texas at Dallas with a Bachelor's of Science Business Administration and an Accounting Information Management degrees. During her time at HM&H, she's continued her education and now earned her master's degree in science in accounting and information management, also from UTD, as well as her CPA license. She serves professional service providers, including doctors, attorneys, entrepreneurs, as well as clients in industries such as construction, real estate, healthcare, and family groups. She's on the board as the immediate past president for the Dallas chapter of the Accounting and Financial Women's Alliance. And she currently serves as the director of the National Foundation Board of the AFWA. Additionally, Anat is a member of the Texas Society of CPAs, the Dallas chapter, and the American Institute of CPAs. So we're very lucky to have this expert here today to tell us what's going on with the tax system. And I'm sure she'll make it very exciting for us all, right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Holly. And please pass my thanks to Happy for organizing me to come and talk to you about my favorite subject, and it will be yours by the end of today. Tax changes. So as you all know, in the past couple of years with COVID, my profession has been very challenging. We have had changes after changes between the CARES Act passed last year by President Trump, followed by stimulus money that some of you might have received, or your children or their friends would have received. And there's a lot of changes that took place last year. Then we had an act passed in December, and then this year in March, President Biden passed his first tax reform act as well. This presentation is about what is to come, okay? Not the things that have already happened, because hopefully your CPAs have kind of talked to you about it as you filed your returns this year, but there are some planning opportunities in the future, and I'm not sure where I'm supposed to click, so y'all tell me. Point it back there. Okay, sure. Have it on. Can you click it for me? All right. So one of the things, as he's getting the next slide going, our usual disclaimer that this is kind of my opinion along with this presentation, not the firm's, and we'll go right into the slides. So, tax rates, okay, fun subject. The current administration wants to raise tax rates. We will see that in multiple formats. We're going to talk about 3 acts that are in the pike. None of these have passed yet, so this is all speculative, which is the nice gray area, which we all love to live in. And but it does give you, opportunities to talk to your financial planners, CPAs, and attorneys about some things you could be doing, even if none of these passes. Some will, but just wanted to give you some ideas or stuff to look at. So you can go to the next slide for me, please. This talks about the tax rate. So the highest rate at the moment is 37% for ordinary income. And for most people, if you're already at the highest marginal rate, you will be bumped to 39.6. And the cutoffs for married filing joint and trusts and single are listed right there. If you look at the cutoff, in terms of the overall income, and all of these numbers are adjusted gross income, so it includes your W-2s, your interest, your dividends, your pass-through investments, everything. Adjusted gross income is where the thresholds lie. So the proposal for 2022 is to lower the threshold and start taxing at the highest rate, which will be higher than current, at a lower threshold. So folks with over $400,000 in adjusted gross income will be paying the highest rate at that point. Right now, the highest rate is paid at above $590, so it's a nice jump there. A few things that you could do. So a lot of CPAs like to talk about saving your taxes, and a lot of the things we do every year is say stuff like, why don't you contribute to the Park Cities Rotaries Club to get a tax deduction and lower your adjusted gross income? And normally, that would be a good sound advice, except in 2021, the highest rate you're paying is 37%. In 2022, most likely, you would be paying 39.6% in tax. So, y'all don't kill me for this, but maybe hold on to your deductions into next year and increase your income this year. You could do things like what's listed up there. Convert your IRAs to a Roth. You take a hit now, but the highest marginal rate is 37%, not 39.6. Then you can change and talk to your financial advisor, such as Happy, and talk about what positions should you liquidate, because capital gain rates are also a subject of conversation, and I'll mention it in the next slides. So if you have a gain position, and the market has been interesting this year, consider liquidating it this year and getting more AGI this year, because you can have more and have it be taxed at a lower rate. So your CPAs most likely will be telling you things differently this year than normal, okay? So, speaking of capital gains. So the way the proposals work, and we'll get into some more details. I know this is super exciting. The proposal out there is to do away with capital gains if someone makes a lot of money, okay? And that number is defined currently. President Biden passed out his green book. Some of y'all might have heard about this. And the threshold will be $1 million. So if somebody makes $1 million in adjusted gross income, then they don't get a benefit for having any capital gain, basically, because it's going to be taxed as ordinary income. Right now, you're only paying 20% at the maximum tax rate for capital gains, plus the Obamacare tax, 3.8%. So it would be an increase from having, 23.8% for capital gains in 2021 to potentially paying 39.6% plus 3.8% Obamacare. So your capital gain tax is practically going to be doubled if this thing passes, okay? So that's something that's out there in the proposals. Like I said, none of what I'm going to be talking about has passed yet. This is for your awareness, okay? And for you to not like me after this. So I know you moved up a slide, but I'm going to mention one thing in the previous one. So the slide was titled Capital Gains, because that's kind of what the easy conversation, but it's the same thing for qualified dividends. So a lot of you all invest in things that give you dividends periodically, and if the company is a US-based company, most likely you're getting qualified dividend treatment for those dividends. And so qualified dividends are taxed like capital gains, 20% currently plus 3.8 for net investment income tax. Those would also go up to 39.6 plus 3.8. So just be aware. Okay. The next thing that is being proposed is elimination of the step-up. And I'll talk about this. A lot of us, I was not born in this country, okay? I moved here about 20 years ago, and so I do not have generational wealth that is accumulated by my family in America, okay? But that's one of the things that the American dream was founded on, right? You come, you build, you can pass it on to your kids, and all is hunky-dory. Well, the proposal right now, the way it reads, is if you are passing on wealth to your children when you pass, the year you pass, when you're already gone, you're filing a final 1040, and you recognize gain on all of your assets as if you sold them the moment you died. That's what eliminating step-up means. So let's say, I'm no Warren Buffett, but let's say you do have a somebody that bought Amazon stock or Apple stock back in the 80s, okay? And they hung on to that one stock. And let's say the share price was $2, one stock, and now it's at 400. I'm just going to use, basic numbers. Under the current law, if my grandmother dies and she has 400, the current value for that one stock, and she's gone, then my mom gets it, and her basis is 400. Okay? It appreciated by $398 in 40 years. Awesome. Nobody pays tax on that under the current law. It just passes on to the next generation. The proposal is that upon the death of my grandmother, she still hangs on to the stock, but it is a deemed sale, and my mother, who will be filing the tax return for my grandmother that has already passed, would have to pay capital gain tax on the $398 and then hang on to the stock. So she still has it. The basis is now $400, but she paid tax on $398. And if you think about it, you're like, okay, well, they want to raise the rates to all the rich people. 99.5% of the population will not be impacted. And you might say, okay, that's great. We all live in Dallas, right? How much is your house currently worth? Okay? Well, upon your death, or if it's a married couple, probably the last to die, your kids will have to do a deemed sale on the house and pay capital gain tax on the house. Okay? So I know it kind of sounds a little out there, and you're like, why would anybody vote for this? They're making it a little convoluted sounding, and it's not really clear on when it might impact you. There will be some exceptions. For example, family-owned businesses. If you have a construction company, you built through hard work, and all your sweat equity and everything is in it, and you don't have a child to pass it on to, it would be a deemed sale of your construction business, and your heirs would have to pay tax. And I'm saying, you have kids, but maybe you have an artist or an accountant or somebody that can't run the construction business. It's a good thing to navigate them in that direction, because if you pass the family business to an heir and they continue the family business, that's going to be an exception that is proposed. So you will not have to do that deemed sale. So farms and family privately held closed businesses are the two exceptions that are talked about. Okay? We can move on to the next slide. I so would love to open it to questions. Normally I kind of walk around and talk to people. So this is a nice numerical, easy math example that shows you what happens. So your assets upon death are $3 million, and under the current law, at the bottom, your heirs keep the whole thing. Great. Under the proposal, they part with 40%. Fun. Hey. So, I'm not an elected official, and a lot of these things, there's a lot of those kind of things that get passed as part of a bigger act, right? They're trying to pass these as the Infrastructure Act, right? They're going to put billions into our infrastructure and stuff like that, and they're going to bury some of these fun tax provisions that people like me have to go and read. Like the CARES Act was 500 pages long with 500 pages of commentary and was enacted for us to figure out in 2 weeks. Exciting. And they say accountants need to be good with numbers. It's also with reading. All right, let's talk about more fun. Gift realization. So the step-up concept exists for us right now because if someone dies, all the assets step up at the time of death, and as long as your estate, your overall assets that are in your estate are under the thresholds for lifetime exemption, you may not be taxed, okay? The lifetime exemption right now is $11.7 million per person. It's the highest it's ever been. When I started in public accounting, it was at $1 million, and I haven't been around for that long, 15 years. So under, President Trump, it was at 5.8, and he basically doubled it. So we knew it was going to sunset back to 5.8 in 2026. That's the current plan. It's going to go back to 5.8 million. Right now, it's 11.7 per person. So if you're married, you're doubling that. So if you die and your estate is valued at above that, then you do pay estate tax at 40%, current law. The proposal out there is to lower it to 3.5 right now, okay? And then you can go to the next slide. And then depending on how much wealth you're going to accumulate, and this is going to be in some future slides, it's going to be a step-up rate for tax upon death. So if your overall assets are up to $1 billion, it's going to be one rate. If it's $1 billion to $5 billion, it's going to be a different rate. If you're over, I want to say it's $100 billion, you're paying 65% estate tax. Okay, so if you want to look any of this up, which I know you all would love to go read all this, can you go back one for me, please? The House bill was introduced by a Democratic congressman, and the Senate bill, there's a couple, including the Bernie Sanders bill. And so we have some really similar proposals coming from different places. What the professionals in the marketplace are kind of saying is some things will pass, but the longer we go, the less of a window we feel they have to pass some of these, okay? Again, I'm not going to get into politics. I just don't want any more changes. Like, I had a year and a half of changes upon changes. I'm okay with taking a quick break, okay? But what I mean by that is election year is coming up. 2022 is an election year. And the professionals in the marketplace feel that they're going to have a hard time passing something real quick, shoving a bunch of this stuff in there, and then a couple months later going back to their constituents and saying, hey, re-elect me. Because by that point, it would be out. Okay? So time seems to be going in the right direction, but they still have 6 months to pass stuff. So let's move on to the next area. Okay, this part right here, I'm going to be mentioning a few things that will be changing. Biden said something that was kind of unusual for a tax professional to hear. It hasn't happened in a very long time until March of this year, when they actually passed a tax law that was retroactive for us as tax preparers, CPAs, etc. For, you might have heard of this, the unemployment benefits that people were receiving. Half the country was maybe on unemployment last year. So middle of March, they passed a rule that basically was retroactive to 2020, telling us that the first $10,200 of unemployment income was non-taxable if you were below certain thresholds, okay? Usually for tax professionals, like when Trump was trying to pass the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act at the end of 2018, which was another massive overhaul, we had 2 years to prepare for that as professionals, to read it, to plan about it, to figure stuff out. This act that passed in March was like immediate, and within a week, the IRS is announcing that 5 million people that already submitted their returns with unemployment, the IRS is just going to start sending them refunds. You might have seen that. So this in red here mentions that all these proposals are going to be prospective, meaning most likely to be enacted 1/1/22, except the capital gain cutoff, because they do not want to have a massive sell-off. If they pass this tomorrow, we all go to Happy and say, hey, sell them all of my stuff. Let's saturate the market. I want to take all my gains this year. I'm going to get them in at 20% plus 3.8, and we're all going to do that, right? So if this passes, they're going to say that the capital gain portion of this whole conversation will be retroactive to the date of the announcement that President Biden did, and it was like April 18th or 19th. So if you've already sold some things thinking this would pass, but it was after April, but before the end of the year, you would still be subject to the new rules. Okay? It's going to be a depressing Friday. Happy to not think this through. Yeah, hey. So, all right, a couple of things. And we can kind of, this is a good idea that's out here. If we have any estate attorneys in the house, they will talk to you about this. If you want to, you know, a couple of names, if you want to run stuff by them, good idea. Because some of these proposals, you might be stuck with a capital gain thing and you can't do anything about it. But because the thinking is that if they pass, let's say, the estate tax adjustment, the $11.7 million changes, that will be prospective into 2022. So you do have 6 months to get some stuff outside of your estate. Okay? Now, if anyone has done estate planning in this room, you usually do a will, a power of attorney, a medical power of attorney for your children, and that sort of thing. If you have some wealth you've accumulated, which could include your house, you should be looking at your house and your cars and your lake house and your 401k and whatever else you have. If the total of all of those is over $3.5 million, remember that's the proposed threshold they're going to jump down to, you should consider talking to an attorney about retitling some things, gifting some things, moving them outside of your estate. Because you could take advantage of the 11.7 exemption during your lifetime if you gift it to a trust for the benefit of me. No, just kidding. Your kids, your grandkids, whoever you'd like, your siblings. So there's opportunities at the moment. And I've attended a lot of seminars on the subject. All the attorneys that I've heard speak about this really say that for estate planning purposes, it never has happened that it was a retroactive enactment. So it would be unusual for that to happen. I can't guarantee anything, but that's kind of the thinking in the marketplace. So think about it, because what you do, let's say you have, what do we pick? Let's say a family limited partnership, okay? You have multiple investments that you have with Happy, with Merrill Lynch, with, I don't know, throw another bank in there, Bank of America, which I realize is Merrill Lynch, maybe that's not a good one, Fidelity. And you kind of put together this, okay, I'm going to take all of my portfolios and I'm going to create a limited partnership. Okay? That means my wife and I, my husband and I, are going to pool all of our assets and then say, okay, so we have this $10 million in all of these securities. We're going to create a partnership, 50-50. But wait, I have 2 little kids. True story, 5.5 and 3.5. And I'm going to gift some of the $10 million in my partnership to a trust for the benefit of my kids. And I'm going to use up, so the family limited partnership, I said 10 million. Let's make it crazy. Let's make it 100 million, okay? And I'm going to move some of it into the benefit of my kids into a trust. So what happens then, you go get a valuation. You get a valuation expert to come and tell you, so this $100 million in current market value, really, if you think about it, who's going to be controlling the partnership? My husband and I, not my 5-year-old, okay? So you're going to be gifting limited partnership interest. Great. We can take a discount for lack of control, 30% off. My 100 million just became 70 million. Okay. Can you go sell this? Like, can I go to Holly and say, hey, Holly, buy my partnership? Probably not. I'm not on the open market. She's not going to give me 70. Okay, I have a discount for lack of control. So my 70 million is now maybe 65. And then at that lower value, you would do a gift to the kids' trust. And let's say I want to gift 50%. So I just moved $30 million, theoretically, outside of my estate. Now, my allowed exemption, my husband and I can only do $23.4 million. So we would pay tax on the delta there, but we've used up our 11.7, and go ahead, anybody, lower my exemption. I don't care. I just used it all up. Okay? There's opportunities in the market. Just be aware of that. Because the proposal that's out there right now says that this kind of an arrangement with gifting to kids, trust, and creating grantor trust and spousal lifetime trusts, they're going to do away with the current structure most likely and make it taxable upon putting it into the trust and upon getting it out of the trust. So we have, like I said, my purpose today is just to make you aware. If you want to call me and talk about some specific situations, I'm more than happy to, or give you a name of an estate attorney or two to talk to in the marketplace. They're all going to get really busy before December 31st, let me tell you that. Okay, so the sooner you get in, the better. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, and I think we can go past this one too. And I'm sure everyone, I mean, y'all are welcome to share my slides if anybody wants them, and you could read about it some more. So that's where we're talking about what might stay. You could still do gifts to spouses. You might be able to still have some grantor trust, but a lot of these proposals, you know, one says the rate will be this and the other is that, and there's just a lot of little tiny branches. I just didn't want to get into too much of the junk. Okay, let's move on. And basically with a proposal, once you start having gifts, so right now, and it's not on this specific slide, but I thought of it as it's up there. Right now, do anybody know how much you can gift to someone tax-free annually? $15,000. $15,000. I take check, cash, or credit. It's tax-free. The recipient does not pick up the income or pay tax on it either. Okay? Every single one of you in this room can gift $15,000 to anyone you want, as many different people as you want. Okay? That's another way you could annually get money out of your estate, right? You have all this wealth. You might not need this much, you know, ultimately. So you could start divvying it up. A wedding here, bar mitzvah there, baby shower, whatever it might be. So under the proposals, they're going to lower the threshold per person to 10, from 15 grand to 10, and each person can only do 2 a year. So pick your 2 favorite people in the room, Holly, and give them 10 grand apiece. The rest of you are out of luck, and it's taxable to Holly, so she won't do it. Okay? It also will create limitations. Pick your 2 favorite grandkids. Those are the 2 that are going to get it. I have clients who give, 20 gifts a year. Every grandchild, every great-grandchild gets 15 grand funded into their trust accounts. The trust terminates when they turn 35. They get all their money. It's a great way to save and pass on the wealth, and it's fair. What they're proposing is going to make it a little challenging by not picking favorites. Let's move on. Okay, so I talked a little bit about this slide. How do you manage capital gains? There's other vehicles out there. It's not just, let's go sell everything today, okay? If you're having an impeding sale of your business, or you're buying a land deal somewhere, it can be structured such that you do it as an installment sale. And most deals, that's what you do. You get, you say, I'm going to get $500,000 every year for the next 3 years, right? The recommendation this year would be to not do that and take the entire $1.5 million this year. So you don't have that split going forward. Okay, so a lot of professionals that have been in the marketplace doing these deals year in, year out, they may not think of the tax consequence. Like, we always do an installment deal, right? Because it gives you cash flow future. You can elect to take all of the capital gain this year, even if you did not get all the cash. Is it risky? Yes. Could it save you some good tax money? Depending on the size of the deal. Okay? There's things like charitable remainder trust, charitable lead trusts. I'm sure the Rotary can tell you about that because they probably accept it. You can create a trust that basically you give money to charity every year, and there is an annuity component to it, so you get an income stream. There's some creative things you could do. So please talk to a professional, especially if this is something that speaks to you. All right. I think we can go past it. I was kind of going a little faster. So the use it or lose it opportunity I talked about, again, is the 11.7 going away, potentially to 3.5. Now, some folks are saying, well, they're just going to wait till 2026 until it sunsets anyway. They might do that. It's still going to go down to 5.8. Because if they let it sunset, then it's Trump's fault and not the current administration. So keep that in mind. And this is a numerical example that just kind of walks you through the numbers of what you can, potentially get out of your estate. And I'll tell you, as someone that wasn't born in this country, this is a concept that was challenging for me. I was born in Soviet Russia, if anybody's wondering. And so I kind of went from Russia to Israel to here. And so some of these concepts were challenging for my parents to understand. Like, what do you mean I need to leave you something? What do you mean we don't keep money under the mattress? No, not that severe, but I did stand in sugar lines, because everybody was getting their sugar allotment for the week. All right, let's keep going for the next slide. Some of these things that we're seeing pop up now were actually some of Obama's proposals from 2016, just something to kind of be aware of. All right, I think we can get past this one as well. And this is the proposed rate structure I was talking about. So under this is Bernie's plan, okay? Under Bernie's plan, if you have between $3.5 million and $10 million in your estate, you'll be paying 45% estate tax on that. If you have between 10 and 50, it's 50%. 50 and 1 billion, 55%. Over $1 billion, 77% goes to Uncle Sam. The other plans are listed right next to it. The current rate, again, is 40%, and only items above your lifetime exemption, which is $23.4 million. All right. So the next couple of slides just give a little bit more specific details. So you remember I talked about my family limited partnership over here. I put $1 million. I went to an expert. He told me, oh, your kids won't have control. You can't sell it to Holly. You know, they don't have, I can't market this. So my $100 million dropped to 65. Discounting is going to go away. You will not be able to do this kind of discount. The valuation experts in the room are scared of this because that's half of what they do. You know, you value businesses for exits, and then you value family limited partnerships and entities for gifting purposes. So half their business might be at risk here. Hopefully they have a strong lobby, right? All right, let's go to the next one. That's it. That's it on the slides. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for such an uplifting program, first of all.
I did it with a smile.
You did, and fought through it very well. Has anyone projected, GPO, et cetera, exactly what kind of revenue generation they believe this to be over 1 year or decade period, whatever?
They do have the forecasts out there. I do not have those numbers to give you a numerical answer. But the thinking is, if you look at the big players, the Bezos, the Elon Musk, and of course Warren Buffett, him, just the three of them, you're going to get really good revenue, so why not do it? What we are seeing, I have clients who, you know, they don't have a lot of assets. They might have a family business or just their house that's left. That's going to kick them into the over $1 million upon a sale. But they're living off Social Security. They don't have any income, okay? And those are the people that may not be aware that it's going to impact them significantly. Sorry, I'm not exactly sure where my zone is for the mic. There was a question over here in the room. Yeah. Yeah, let me mention that. So if you all remember, when President Trump was elected, one of the things he did was eliminate the state and local tax benefit to some of the rich states, meaning if you had, you know, if you were paying California state income tax, you could deduct it on your federal return normally. They made a threshold cutoff that's equal for the whole country, for everyone. And you look at your state and local income tax versus your property tax, and you cap at $10,000 for everyone. So the people in states like New York, California, where you have the highest state income tax, they basically were really, really upset at this. You could arguably understand them. People in Dallas that are paying $40,000 on their property taxes were also upset, for the record. Okay, so everybody was unhappy, okay? The proposal out there is that if some of this passes, they're going to put the SALT back into play. So we will, again, be able to deduct our $40,000 property taxes here in town, but folks in New York, California, et cetera, could deduct theirs as well. The other side of this that I did not cover because my focus was more on the estate gift and capital gain, but to be aware of is that they most likely will put back the P's limitation. You might have heard of these. About 6 years ago, we had these. Basically, if your income was above a certain threshold, every itemized deduction dollar was not equal to $1 in benefit for you all. It was maybe, depending on your income, it was either 30 cents on the dollar or 28 cents on the, so that might come back too, in some capacity.
Thank you, Anat.
My pleasure.
We're going to be placing a book in your honor. Who's our new elementary school? Tell me again. McShann. Okay, in the McShann Elementary Library in your honor. Thank you so much. The sad part is we probably know a whole lot more about this now than a lot of the people who are going to be voting on it, and that's scary. It's so complex. Anyway, next week is Dawood Maban. I always get the name wrong. With the Maban Leadership Group. I think he'll enjoy speaking to this club. It's going to be the law of intentionality. He should enjoy speaking to this club because we have the great legacy of leadership program. So he's speaking to the choir, as you were, Anat, because we have so many wealth managers in this club. Not to mention CPAs. Okay. Well, thank you. That was a great program. Go ahead and Captain Gibson will lead us in the four-way test. Yes, if you would. Let's stand. And we are dismissed. Ding. Yes.